You've seen rust, right? That reddish-brown stuff that shows up on old metal. Most of us think it just makes things look ugly or eventually breaks them down. When we think about rust being dangerous, we usually picture dramatic structural failures. You know what I'm talking about, like the Silver Bridge in Point Pleasant that suddenly collapsed in 1967, sending 46 people plunging into the Ohio River. There are countless examples where rusted components in elevators, cranes, and amusement park rides have failed catastrophically. These kinds of rust failures make the news because they're dramatic and visible. The metal weakens, it breaks, and tragedy follows. But there's another way rust kills that almost nobody talks about. And in some ways, it's even scarier because you never see it coming. Let me tell you a real story that happened back in 2007. On September 23, 2007, the Vikingislay, an emergency response and rescue vessel stationed in the North Sea, faced a tragic situation that turned a simple maintenance task into a fatal accident. The problem was straightforward. A noisy anchor chain rattling in its locker was disturbing crew members trying to rest. The solution seemed equally simple. 2 crewmen would enter the forward store, access the chain locker below, and secure the chain to prevent it from making noise. The forward store contained access to the chain locker below, covered by a manhole secured with 18 bolts. Let me pause here. Anytime you see a hatch secured with numerous bolts rather than simple latches, it's a warning. These spaces aren't designed for casual entry and are called enclosed spaces. An enclosed space is defined as a space that has any of the following: limited openings for entry and exit, unfavorable natural ventilation, and is not designed for continuous worker occupancy. The crew removed all 18 bolts from the manhole cover. 1 crewman stayed topside with a radio while the other descended the ladder to secure the chain. Within moments of entering the locker, the crewman lost consciousness and collapsed. Seeing his colleague in distress, the second crewman radioed for help, then entered the locker himself to attempt a rescue. He too quickly lost consciousness and collapsed. The ship's alarm sounded. A third crewman attempted rescue, wearing an emergency escape breathing device, an EEBD. As he reached the bottom of the ladder, for some reason, his breathing device shifted from his face. He became the third casualty. But how did they all die so quickly? When the investigation team finally tested the air in that chain locker, they found oxygen levels at 15%. For context, we normally breathe air with about 21% oxygen, and anything below 19.5% is considered dangerous. But how did the oxygen disappear? This is where rust comes in. When metal rusts, it's actually a chemical reaction where the iron combines with oxygen and water. It literally pulls oxygen molecules out of the air. In a closed space like that chain locker, with metal chains and metal sidewalls, moisture from the sea, and no fresh air coming in, the rust had been slowly stealing oxygen for months or years. The space had turned into what safety experts call an oxygen-depleted atmosphere. Basically, a death trap. Here's the really freaky part about oxygen depletion. Your body doesn't warn you it's happening. Unlike in movies where people gasp, sweat, and struggle to breathe, our bodies don't actually sense low oxygen directly. What we feel when we hold our breath is the buildup of carbon dioxide. That's what gives you that painful, I need to breathe feeling. But in an oxygen-depleted environment, you're still breathing out carbon dioxide normally, so your brain never gets the danger signal. Instead, you might feel slightly dizzy or confused, then sleepy, then unconscious, then dead, all in a matter of seconds or minutes. And that explains the other horrifying pattern we see in these accidents. Multiple deaths. First person collapses without warning, then would-be rescuers rush in without proper equipment and become victims themselves. After too many tragedies like the Vikingislay. Enclosed spaces are now among the most strictly regulated work environments. There are established comprehensive protocols for working in enclosed spaces. It's essential to understand that oxygen depletion dangers aren't limited to maritime environments. These potentially fatal hazards exist in many confined spaces we encounter in everyday life: manholes, home basements, storage tanks, wells, silos, and even deep trenches. Before entering any confined space, always check oxygen levels with appropriate testing equipment, ensure proper ventilation, and follow established safety protocols. Did you know about this aspect of rust? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked this video, hit that subscribe button for more explanations of the world around us. Thanks for watching.